It's now the back end of March, and I just thought I'd do a quick walk through the garden to look at what's emerging up at Grassy Bottom at the minute. And we'll start here on my favourite subject, Calamagrostis. And this one's Calamagrostis acutiflora calfostra, and this is the kind of look we get at this time of year. This is why I keep saying that this is a really invaluable grass to get. Now, as a good example next to it, we've got this one here, and this is Calamagrostis waldenbush, a bit more of a lax form of Calamagrostis than calfostra, but it has this lovely fresh spring growth, as you can see. If you look at that now, and then that one, that's slightly darker than what waldenbush is. Waldenbush is definitely fresher, but both of them look really, really nice. Now, echinaceas are starting to come up as well. So this is a Bressingham hybrid, and I bought an original one, and then I selected a couple of them as being particularly good, because there's a lot of them that are probably just bog standard stuff, but some of them turn out to be really nice. So if you get the Bressingham hybrids, you tend to get different varieties, rather different colours, and some can be really interesting. Okay, so this is a Strantia, and this is the Muriel's Gift one. That is a Jill Richardson selection, and at the moment it's only just poking its head up, but it's got these lovely red tinges. I don't know if they can be made out, but it's got these lovely red tinges that get even better as it gets bigger, and it has a lovely claret type flower with black tips, and we'll show you that as they develop. So they're looking good. Now, there's lots of things in here that are just sticks at the moment. Those sticks are just to show me where I've put different plants, because most of us tend to dig them up, don't we, all the time, and I do just that as well. But there's other things here. This one's an allium, and this one's called Summer Drummer, and it's always ahead of all the rest of them, and it's already 1.5 foot. This is what they do. If we just go in here, there's Phyllictrum Ellen, which in my opinion is the best. There is another one called Anne, which is turning out to be just as good, but this is the growth that we get from Phyllictrum Ellen, and that's going to make it up to about 7 foot eventually. It's a stunner. It's one of my favourite perennials. Yeah, so things are developing nicely. The grasses are starting to poke up already, including the miscanthus. Now, I've cut back my miscanthus, as I've shown in a previous video, but they're already starting to emerge quite early, really. But nevertheless, they're emerging. Now, this is the old Aster Monk, now Symphotrichum Monk, and it's already up and away. So that's doing okay. Then we got this one here. This is Alchemilla erythropoda, and it's quite a way on now. It can sometimes be evergreen, but usually for me it dies away and then pops its head back up in spring. And I have another one called the Turkish form, which is a real grey form of this one, and is really nice as well. Now, I know Alchemilla mollis can be a bit of a pain as the big plant, but I love it anyway. Erythropoda is a lot smaller, just as seeding as Alchemilla mollis, but nevertheless a stunning little plant to have. So the Turkish form, like I say, is a silvery blue colour. Is probably a little bit better. There's not a lot in it, but it's definitely worth searching out. So everybody's hostas should be about at this point at the moment, this stage here. This one is. I cannot even remember what this is. There'll be a label under there somewhere telling me which one it is. But I don't know. I've got so many of these things. So there's lots of things emerging, and I don't want to go into too much detail on them today. Just wanted to have a look around, see what they're looking like at this time of year, because a lot of people tend to not go out into the garden at this time of year and look at it. Only proper gardeners. So this is Elianthus salicifolius, and it's the Afghan elm plant, And from that tiny, tiny little leaf there, that plant is going to make at least 7 to 8, if not 9 feet. And I love it. It's a sunflower type flower on top of it. And I just love it. It's in the cloister pergola, this one. I said before that it's probably in the wrong area, but it'll be fine. It should do its job. And it'll make, in fact, we'll just pan up. So that's just over 6 foot that, and it'll definitely get 1.5 to 2 foot higher than that section there. It'll look good. Well, it does look good. Now, this is Euphorbia, and this one's called Excalibur, and I just absolutely love this one. It's just a stunner. And it will get to, well, it's just a little stub at the moment, and it'll probably make 2 to 3 foot, that one, by the time it's finished. And that's the best time for it at the moment. All of our roses are starting now. Everybody's roses should be at this point at the moment. Well, in Lincolnshire, this is the point where mine are at. This one's Gertrude Jekyll. And I'm still training it, as you can see. There's still a lot to do on this cloister pergola, and I'm still, like I say, I'm still training it, and there's a way for it to go just yet. But it's getting there. Now, I don't think a lot of people will be familiar with this one. This is called Lamium ovala, and it's a dead nettle, but it's a real pretty one. It's not like your little lamiums. This one's a lot taller, and it has a really, really pretty flower on it. And it'll only make about 1.5 foot, but it's starting to emerge. It's looking really nice, and as you can see, it does look like a nettle, but it's not. Well, it is. It's the nettle family. But it's what's referred to as dead nettle. Now that's Brunera. And I can't remember which particular one that one is, because I've got several around the garden, different types. But that's Brunera. And that's just about, they're the ones that have the massive leaves, and they're a forget-me-not, really. They have a forget-me-not type flower, which is now developing, as you can see. Right there, and it is a bit of a beauty, this. I love it. Good for a shady area, hence it being the cloister pergola. It's looking nice. The ferns are not really sending up croziers just yet. I've left the old leaves on them because I like to leave them just to protect the croziers, really, because it's freezing here at the moment, and it is predicting a frost again tonight. Now, I've just bought this one, and I've already got it somewhere in the garden, but not quite sure where. And it's obviously podophyllum, and this particular variety is called Spotty Dotty. You can see why. It's not planted in yet, not a cheap plant. There's the price, very pricey, but well worth having. Like I say, it's up in another part of the garden, but I'm convinced I might have just got off green form of it, although I'm sure I bought Spotty Dotty. But now we've definitely got the correct one. And there's another fern, not yet out. That one's Dray's Dagger, and it's beautiful, this one. It's a real pretty fern. Now this here, I think this is, well, I know it's Sanguisoba, but I don't know which one it is, because stupidly I've lost my label. And I always tell people, you know, you've really got to remember your labels, and you've got to make sure you put labels with them. And I haven't with that one, but anyway, it'll reveal itself eventually. So this is the elder. It's looking quite good. This is the point it's at the moment. And I just love these leaves. They're so deep purple. And it's one of your more fastigiate elders. I've shown it loads of times, this one. It's called Black Tower. And it's possibly my favourite elder, at least definitely in the top 3 elders that I absolutely love. Love it that much that I've done some cuttings, this being one of them. Another one at the other side of the floating deck, which you can't see from here. But while we're here, there's another Phalictrum Ellen there. I love them. They're going to look really good around the floating deck eventually. There's a Melinia, which is a grass. So the Melinias are quite early to come up, actually. And this one is a real good one called Windspiel. And I really like that one. If you're going to get hold of a Melinia, that one should be on your list. Let's have a look at the wildlife area while we're here. Don't know if that church bell's coming through, but that's ringing away in the village at the moment. Always nice to hear. Now this is a sorbus and the mountain ash, and it's supposed to be Kashmiriana, but I'm not sure. It's a seed raised one that I bought not a million miles from here from a garden that opened, and it's remained as little as this for, well, ever since I've had it really. It was a tiny little thing when I bought it, obviously, but it's never really got any bigger than this. Now it's been put into a pot again because I'm busy moving it. I want it somewhere else because it's a pretty one and I want it to sort of like be in sight and in view. And where it was getting lost. But we shall rectify that this year. This is Symphytum. Now, it's known as a problematic plant, really, but I just love them. They're good for early pollinators. And it's just starting to produce its flowers, as you can see there. And the leaf is quite nice, really. When you take a proper look at the leaves, they're quite nice. Well, I like them. Now, this is a euphorbia, and this is purpureum. It's beautiful. Look at that colour. I've got one further up the garden that's darker than that, and this is what they do. They go this beautiful colour, and it's producing its flowers now. As you can see there, typical euphorbia type flower. And it's a stunner, and that's a self-set, that one, that I moved actually. There's another one here, as you can see, next to the wildlife pond. I'm getting really excited about the wildlife pond, to be honest with you, because all this growth is coming up now. And in another month and a half, 2 months, this will be absolutely full of different plants. So we've got Persicarius coming up. That's Amplexicorus. Not sure of its variety, because I got it from a friend and she forgot to name it. Now, Verbena bonariensis, if you've got them, this is what I expect you to be able to see on your own. Verbenas is little sticks like this. Don't be fooled, because what you should be seeing now is little growth starting, and there we go. So not all is lost. Now, I have lost some. I'll be quite honest about it. I've lost some of those. But on the whole, most of them should come back. Let's move to this one. This is a Euphorbia polychroma. It's called Wallenberg's Glory. And this is the look it has. Now, I feared I was going to lose this early on when I got it, because I bought it. I got given it by a friend, and it was a tiny, tiny little stick, and it never really came to anything. But I persevered with it and left it where it was. And sure enough, it's starting to grow. And it has this quite tall, well, say tall, it's about 1.5 foot to 2 foot, but it kind of splays out, but it's quite rigid at the same time, and it's a real nice one. So this is the Rheum palmatum, and this is what you should be expecting to see at the moment. I really, really do like this one. I can't decide if it's atrosanguineum, because I don't know. I got it again off of a friend who again didn't label it. But it's looking nice, and it'll look fantastic against here. And as I said, I put it against this cobble here, where the cobbles are. As that floods, it floods down here to the Rheum, and the Rheum is loving it. I mean, it's getting on now. Well, I say it's getting on. It's about 3 years here. No, 2.5, yeah, 3 years, because 3rd year in now. And it's finally starting to get to be a bigger specimen. And that's going to look absolutely stunning. And when that grows a little bit more, I shall come back to that, and I shall do another YouTube on that, because it's well worth looking at and well worth getting. That's Cynara cardunculus, and although it's in a bin, it doesn't need to be. I got that quite some time ago, and planted it and then lost it. It just never came up, never came to anything. And then at the end of last year, I noticed it coming up. Forgot about it again, stuck that dustbin over it because it was just like a little stub, and it's starting to grow. So I'm going to give that a little bit more time because it's had the protection, hasn't it? So it's gonna resent me taking that dustbin away. But I must do it at some point. That's a Rudbeckia there, just starting growth. It's just starting, and again, that's going to be 6, 7, 8 foot tall. Now, can you remember me talking about this euphorbia? This is Euphorbia crosspasteurii, and I says it probably won't survive, or it'll struggle if it does. But there's a chance if it's going to make it, this is where it's going to make it. And there we go, look, it's looking sorry for itself, but I'm giving it a chance. It's definitely still alive, so we'll leave that alone. If you've got something like this, I'd recommend you don't touch it at the moment. Just leave it till the weather improves and then just clip it back a little bit. And before you know it, it'll be looking good. Alliums. Now, I can never remember which one I've put in. But this is an allium, and I think it's Globemaster, this particular one. I've got them all over the garden, but this is the phase they're at the moment, and they're looking really nice. So the geraniums again, coming up. Not quite sure whether that's Johnson's Blue. I don't think it is. I think it's a particular variety that I've got. It's really, really nice. There's lots of things in the garden that's coming up. Some things that I thought hadn't made it. I'm trying to remember what I've planted here. Petrinia affinis, and it's called Punctiflora. Well, it's a bit cow parsley looking, but with a yellow flower. But it's just a little stub at the moment. Who'd believe that's going to grow into something so beautiful? But it will. So the shrubs are coming on now. What's happened here? A bit of damage. I get lots of pigeons in this garden, and we get lots of damage like this. Yeah, they've damaged that one, so I won't rip it off. I'll come in and I'll prune that away. So here's another Sorbus. This one's called Autumn Spire, and I just love this one. I've got two other. I had 2 other plants. One of them succumbed and died, but this one's doing all right. These aces haven't really got going yet. This particular one hasn't got going yet. Other shrubs growing away. Hydrangea. This one's Quercifolia, the oak-leaved hydrangea, and that's just about to start growing again, as you can see. And then we have the honeysuckle, Linicera. And this is more of a shrub one that grows like a shrub, even though it's the true honeysuckle. And I think it's originally come through one called Honey Baby, which is more of a shrub. And I got this many, many years ago in a garden. I've managed to keep it going via cuttings through 4 other gardens. And I've planted it now. I've got to get rid of that grass around it because that's just going to cause it too many problems. So narcissus, or the daffodils, they're on the way. Viburnums. This one's Tinus Eve Price, one of the best. And it has a very lovely scent as well, so it's doing well. I won't talk too much about this one. This is Fatsia japonica. We'll go into that as summer comes in. But look, I did say if you've got one and it gets burnt, just leave it alone. Don't touch it at all. Let the leaves fall off what need to fall off. And then we'll get to a point where we'll need to do a little bit of judicial pruning and get rid of some of the leaves that are looking the worse for wear. But for now, we'll leave it alone. Now, this is the secret garden. And after somebody made a comment of what I probably could call it, I've decided I'll probably go with what he's suggested. And I'm probably going to call it the Nook. Now, I had an uncle called Nobby, and Kathy, my girlfriend, thinks I should call it Nobby's Nook. But I quite like just the Nook. It may change it to that. Again, I'm not committed to that yet, but I do quite like it. So we've been working on this area, for those that have been watching, and I've got yet more box edging. And I did promise somebody that I would do a video on how to plant these and the spacing required, and I will at some point. I will go through there at some point. Now typically I've left my tools out. There you go. Typically they're out. More tools here, out. More hydrangeas, hellebores. That one's Helleborus foetidus. This is the one that Des gave me, a neighbour just up the road. He gave me these two plants. They're doing well. Now this is Erythronium, the dog's tooth violet, and it's about to come. I forgot where it was actually, and there it is. It's in there. It's doing all right at the moment, and it'll produce it's called Pagoda, this particular one, the typical one. But it's doing all right, and it'll produce some flowers pretty soon. So there's lots starting to grow in this one as well. I've got an acanthus there, you can see. That's rue laden, the white one. And usually it's pretty much evergreen, but we all know that it's not likely to stay evergreen. It'll be more like it is now. A lot of that leaf died off through winter. But this is probably typically more evergreen than most of them, and taller as well. Now this is possibly one of my favourite grasses. Not at the moment, but probably forever. This is Miscanthus lutaria riparius, coming up with its little red spikes and spears. They're all over. I did say it needs containing, and it's definitely contained here. I've put this bamboo barrier in to stop it, because you do not want this one running riot, and it will. It will run riot. Now, when I did some Erysimum cuttings last year, somebody's just pointed out how many survived. Well, not many, because I didn't want to admit that I'd actually put them aside, and I tell people to put them aside and keep them safe, and I put them all aside. I can't remember how many cuttings I took, and they said how many cuttings survived. Well, around 3 actually survived. It's a rookie mistake. I'm not a rookie, but this being one of them. So that's doing really, really well. I like that one. The colour, look at the colour on that. It is one of the best Erysimums, and it's a perennial, remember. And I just love it. And it does have a bit of a scent to it as well. But it's not big enough to smell that at the moment. It's just still the cutting. And really what I should be doing is removing those flowers and encouraging the plant to grow rather than it produce flowers. But I'm not going to. I can't bring myself to do it at the moment. I'm going to leave it alone. Now this is a euphorbia. This is new to me this year. This is from Beth Chatto's, and it's new to them as well. And it's called Euphorbia sarawashiana. Sarawashiana. And it's a tall, spear-like one. A bit like Excalibur, actually. A bit like that. So I'm looking forward to that this year. What's this we've got here? We've got some little plant there. Not sure what that is. It'll be something. It's probably something I planted. I don't know. Another Astrantia. This one's called Shaggy. It's a white form. And I love them. Oh, there is one of the aces coming good. There we go. I just love the new growth of aces. Whereas this one here, not doing so great, but it is fine. It's burnt off at the tops, but it's fine. It's got a lovely colour. So that's doing all right. I love this section actually at the minute. I really like it, and it's not 100% finished yet, but I really do like this. This is my type of gardening that appeals to me. So we've got some heleniums starting there. That one's an unnamed variety. And that's doing all right at the moment. Oh, there's another Helleborus argutifolius. Oh yeah, I do remember that. It used to be next to the barrel. I moved the barrel. And I've just remembered I had a little seedling next to it, and there it is. Coming up, looking good. Now this is another Brunera, and this is Alexander's Great, and it produces the best leaf, in my opinion. They're tiny at the moment, but that's fine. They'll be all right. Now this is Digitalis Stewartii, and it's described as an evergreen, and I couldn't understand how it would be an evergreen. But there's the new growth coming away, and I'm loving it. I've got thousands of seeds of that, and I'm hoping to find some. And here we go. As I talk about them, they are definitely seedlings from it, and I know that because I've got some in the house that I've grown that I took off of it. So I know that's exactly what they are. So we shall look to pull those ones out, or leave them, or spread them around. This one's Metallicum, and everybody knows this one. It's fantastic. I love it. And that's the fresh new growth you got. And you've got to be very careful. These were already here when I got here. The leaves can be very, very different indeed on each plant that you've got. So you've got to be mindful that these things will spread around. They'll seed around. You'll find the orange seed heads at some point, and that's the point to remove them if you don't want too many. Here's just a plain ordinary coloured one. But it's Metallicum marmoratum, or subspecies marmoratum. It's looking good. This is a new border really to me. It had a spirea in here, just there where that tulip is, that red tulip. It's now got a strawberry tree there, an arbutus. Next to there, that's an evergreen, so that's more interesting than the one that was there. And then the tulip, not a big tulip fan, but the self-sets. Well, they're not self-sets, they were already in there when I came. I've got a little species Corydalis here, I think. I'm not sure what it is. I promised myself I'd look that one up. It's some form of Corydalis. What else is doing well here? Stachys. This particular one is called, let's have a look at the name because I always forget this one. Helen von Strata, and it is a superb one. It gets a really nice colour. Now, the one thing it did have last year was this, which I didn't like to see. Some sort of disease, but I think it'll be all right. This is Amelanchier obelisk, and it's just starting to come to life. Just starting to wake up. And again, another Euphorbia Excalibur. This is how much I love this one. Absolutely beautiful. There's lots and lots of plants that I could show you, but I can't show you because the video is just simply not long enough. And you'll all get bored. You're probably all bored now. A lot of you will have dropped away at this point. But just wanted to show you where we're at with this at the moment. I've got a couple of plants to go in here. I'll show you them. Sedum tenuifolium. Solinum, sorry. I was looking at a sedum then when I said it. Solinum tenuifolium, that's that one. And then this one I was hoping was Wallichianium. I found it as a seedling, but I actually think it's Anthriscus sylvestris, but we can't tell just yet. We need to give it a bit more time. There's another Euphorbia here. This has been renamed. This is Epithethomoides, doing really well. It's a beauty. And there's lots of Hylotelephiums or sedums, as they used to be, growing. Lots of different types. And then this here, if you remember, I said I would leave this as an experiment. Not 100% convinced that I'm going to keep these dead bits, because I don't really need to, because I know what's going to happen. And I've said it will produce new leaves from these little nodes, or these internodes, hopefully over time. But we've got the new growth already. So that's a miscanthus, and it's a giganteous type called Jubilaris, and it's really nice. So the Deschampses are waking up. That particular one's called Silver Mist. And then we've got this Rheum australe. I love this one, but it's a runner. It has to be contained, and I've got it in this dustbin. I use lots of these things, as you know. And it's a dustbin. in a dustbin, and it's beautiful. Okay, so we're up to half an hour, so we better go because I know I'll have lost most of you. We'll end it with a shot here because that's a nice shot in it. So there we go, that's Grassy Bottom emerging from its winter slumber. I'll talk to you on the next one. Ta-da!